Hello there, and welcome to this tier video. My name's Dan. I like talking about Warhammer and stuff. So we're going to be doing some tier listings of heavy and monstrous cavalry, so heavy and super heavy cav. There's one unit of light cavalry in here that I've included because they function like that faction's version of heavy cavalry. It's for wood elves. It's the wild riders, obviously. Yeah, because although they're down as light cavalry, they're kind of, that's not, wood elves are a bit weird when it comes to cavalry. Anyway, there's only one faction missing, and that's Skaven, obviously, because Skaven just don't have any cavalry. They're also bottom of the meta. I wonder if those two things could be linked. Now, I said they don't have any cavalry. I'm just checking, actually, now. No, they don't. Cool, so I'm going to do a few of these tier videos over the next few weeks, hopefully. So anyway, let's get cracking. So the first one is Blood Knights, Vampire Counts. They go straight into S tier for a few reasons. So you can give them barding, you can give them drilled, which because they're vampiric they can't march, so it's not necessarily, drilled isn't necessarily that good. You know, you may not wish to spend the extra 3 points on giving them drilled. However, giving them full plate armor, you know, really does make a lot of difference. That makes them about sort of 44, 45 points a model. They've got weapon skill 5, which is, you know, pretty elite. They've got toughness 4, which makes them really survivable. So they've basically got a 2-up save. They've got lances. They've got strength 4, toughness 4, multiple attacks each. You know, they're absolutely fantastic. And you probably need an S plus tier really for these guys, because they have magical attacks and AP1, so they're like chosen knights effectively. They're more or less like chosen knights, apart from the fact they can't march. However, they can be resurrected. So if you've got a necromancer or something nearby, you can bring them back, which is just absolutely fantastic. So they're really good, solid, heavy cavalry. Got movement 7. Got swift stride, and they've also got martial pride, which is every single one can accept and issue challenges like a champion. So they're really good. You know, you can charge into that unit. You can issue a challenge with one of your normal rank and file blood knights, leaving the castellan to fight the unit if you know the champion. So the flexibility that gives you is absolutely fantastic. And for the points, you know, I think they're really cheap for what they do. They've also got dark vitality, so they're not affected when the general dies, so they don't crumble, as it were. So they're just all round brilliant. Anyway, demons next. On to oh, what the bloody hell are they called? It's just fallen out of my head. Blood Crushers, that's it. It's blood something. So blood crushers are a bit difficult to gauge at the moment because they are. In fact, I'll just show you. They are, you know, weapon skill 5, which is good. The toughness 4, which is good. They got multiple wounds. They do have hellblades, which means they've got not. I don't think they've got killing blow. I think that gives them like 6s to wound. You don't get a save, basically, whatever that cleaving blow. They've got a decent amount of combats from the mounts in combat, and the juggernauts aren't terrible. You know, strength 5, weapon skill 4, 2 attacks each is great. There's a lot of attacks there. They're not massively expensive. You can give them a demonic icon, but the demonic icons aren't very good. But they do have swift stride, movement 7, so they're pretty reliable about getting in there. They've only got a 4-up save native because they've got light armor 6-up, barding 5-up, armored hide 4-up. They do, however, have impact hits, which are, you know, absolutely brilliant. So having 2 impact hits at strength 5, no AP, but still, they're pretty good. They're on pretty big bases, which makes them quite difficult to wield. It's really difficult to work out where to place them, really, and in terms of how effective they are. I think they would be A tier, but the low armor to me just drops them down a little bit. I know that because they're demons, they get ward saves inbuilt anyway, so they got a 5-up ward, not against magic, but still, you know, a decent magic missile. They're only toughness 4, So like a decent magic missile can just tear them a new one and just take them down. So that weakness may even drop them down to C tier. We'll see how this shakes up. So evils. We want to get to orcs and goblin cavalry. Here we go. Orc boar boy mobs. Come on. There we go. Orc boar boy mobs. As you can see, they're pretty good. They've got toughness 4, which is great. Weapon skill and strength isn't great, considering you can only give them cavalry spears, giving them +1 to their... Now, that's a bit misleading because you've got this choppers special rule, and choppers applies to all the rules, all weapons, so it's not just single hand weapons. Reroll to wound rolls of 1 and improves AP by 1. So what that actually does to orc boar boy mobs is cavalry spears, when they charge, they get at 1 AP and +1 strength, which is pretty good. So they're now 2 AP and strength 4, which is okay. You can give them big guns, which makes them strength 4 as well. I think is big guns +1 strength and armor bane 1, so it gives them +1 strength and armor bane 1, which is pretty good. They've got light armor. I think you can upgrade to heavy armor. Yeah, so heavy armor 5, armored hide gives them 4 up. So again, they've not really got that much in terms of defense, apart from the fact they're toughness 4. However, the one thing they do have is that they're bloody cheap. So 15 points each. You give them big guns, that makes them 17. You give them heavy armor, that makes them 18. So heavy armor 19, 20. So they're 20 points each with all the stuff, which gives them a 3-up save, heavy armor, barding, shield. You know, it's all pretty good. And actually, the magic banners that the orcs and goblins have access to are pretty good. And so, for instance, the War banner, 3-inch maximum charge plus D3 to your result. So you can make a 12-inch charge with them. You can actually make that 13 because there's a in the War magic, you can add one basically. And I think if you put them in nomadic hordes, they get even better. And you can, within nomadic horde, you can give them reserve move as well, so they can make a reserve move, and you can basically get some T1 charges with these guys. Considering they're so cheap, they're really, again, they're difficult to place because they are so cheap. But I think they're solid A tier. They're not quite as good as Blood Knights. They need a lot of support to make them. With all the magic weapons and stuff, they're possibly S tier, but they're just not quite as good. There's loads of other spells as well. Like there's another spell that gives you like reroll 1s to hit. So if you're rerolling 1s to hit, you're rerolling 1s to wound. You know, you've got big uns, so they're like strength 5, AP 2, armor bane 1. You know, all of that kind of, it all stacks up and creates some really good synergies, which makes them really, really good. However, just as they are, they're probably C tier, but with all the other stuff that you can get off reliably, they're A tier. With everything all in, they're S tier. So they're pretty difficult. So maybe A or B. Again, once we start to get down a bit more, we can sort of play around. Chaos Knights C tier. Just straight off, they're just not very good. You know, as they are. If you give them the Mark of Khorne, they become pretty good. But you know, why can't I drag the thing? Here we go. So yeah, so you know, the weapon skill 5. They've only got 1 attack each. They're 27 points. You know, you can give them lances, which makes them 29, which is reasonably cheap. You only have to take them in unit size of 4. Actually, MSU taking them units of 4 with Khorne, which gives them frenzy, so they're immune psychology and an extra attack. That makes them pretty good. But other than that, they're a bit rubbish, to be honest. Nurgle makes them defensive, so you can take Nurgle and drop the lances because you don't really need it. But then again, if you're going to go defensive, you're wasting first charge and swift stride. So like, yeah, ensorcelled weapons is good because that means they're 1 AP and magic attacks just inbuilt with hand weapons. It doesn't make the lances magic, however, but still, lances are pretty good. And actually, the steed's pretty good with strength 4. You know, so they're pretty good, but overall a bit underwhelming, I think, for the points. So you compare these at like 31, 30 points against, you know, your orcs at 20. You know, so for instance, you could take 10 of these and then 15 orcs. I'd rather have the 15 orc boar boys, to be honest. And I'd rather have blood crushers if I could take demons in a mortal Warriors of Chaos list. I'd definitely take blood crushers over them. And there's another unit that we'll see later on that's definitely worth way more than them. Chosen Knights, however, totally different kettle of fish. Chosen Knights are just absolutely fantastic. They are some of the best cavalry in the game. Now, you can only have one unit in your whole army, so they're limited to 0 to 1 per army. So they're really super rare. So you want to give them all the upgrades. But, you know, 36, 38 points for Lance. I'd typically leave them with Undivided, so they get to re-roll leadership checks. They're not veteran, but they get to re-roll like Panic and Fear and Terror tests with Undivided, which is pretty good. You don't want them failing a Fear test. You could do something similar by giving them Corn, which should give them Frenzy and therefore Immune Psychology. However, then you have to charge and you have to follow up. And I think having to follow up is probably is the biggest downside of Frenzy. You can give them Drilled. Now, Drilled, bargain for 2 points each. So you give them full plate, shield, blah, 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 blah. They've got a 2-up save. You give them Drilled. Now, what that means as well is that you can do a 21-inch move on your first turn, and then Drilled, you can reform into combat formation before you charge. So you can get a really nice 21-inch move up the table, making sure to present like the least number of ranks to, you know, cannons and stuff. Don't point your, you know, very straight line at a cannon. That's silly. Make sure it's in the, you know, in the side arc. And then you've got your 7 plus probably 9-inch, so 16-inch charge next turn with them. So they are really good. The other reason they're really good is if you've got a Chaos Lord, you can put your Chaos Lord on a steed here, which they've given counter charge to the Chaos Steed. Now that's really important as well, because counter charge, which they have on their war scroll here. So basically, if you get charged by a chariot, by chariot, by cavalry, or by a monster, you're allowed to do a charge, which really synergizes really well with Drilled, because that's a move. So you get to go from your marching column into your normal, probably move. You move D3 towards them. That's your charge distance. But still, you get to get out of that marching column and countercharge your opponent's units. Now, especially if you've got like a Chaos Lord, and then you've given it something like maybe giving it Enchanting Aura. Strike first is cancelled off. So there's lots of stuff you can do. Typically, I prefer Diabolic Splendor because they're then -1 to hit and shooting. And because you only get one in your army, you want to upgrade them. So you give them the Blasted Standard because they get to re-roll ones against wounds suffered during the shooting phase. So they've got a 2-up save, the -1 to hit and shooting because of the Lords with them. So actually, once you sort of build out all the synergies that you can with them, they become like definitely some of the best. I use the Varangard graphic. I don't really like it, but there's not really much choice. Dark Elf Cold One Riders. I instinctively want to put them B tier. I think they're better than Chaos Knights. Stupidity is a problem though, and the main issue being that there's no way of you giving them veteran, which is, you know, that's if you could give them veteran, I'd give them I'd put them up a bit, but you can't. So I'm not. Where the heck are they? Here we are, Cold One Knights. So, you know, they've got a decent stat line for elves. They've got toughness 4. They've got heavy armor. You can give them full plate, making them 35 points, which again is not too expensive. They've got armoured hide 1, so they don't have barding, but they've got armoured hide instead, so it's the same. So 4, 3, 2. So they've got the 2-up save, which is the best you can get. They've got all the cool stuff. They've got elven reflexes, so they're actually initiative 6, probably initiative 9 when they've got a charge off. So they're probably going to be going first. It doesn't say rider only, so elven reflexes means that this is probably initiative 6. These ones, the cold ones, so they're pretty good. It would be better if there were some decent standards to give them. They just aren't. And there's no way of giving them veteran or drilled or anything, but they are really good in terms of toughness and in terms of having a really good armor save. And in fact, they're relatively cheap. High leadership's good. So there's lots of stuff that's good about them. However, the downside is this: stupidity. It just makes them really bad. Just in general, it just makes them, you know, super bad. I've cocked up the volume levels on my mic, so apologies. I've just fixed that, hopefully. Apologies if you've had to adjust your volume setting throughout the video. So that's these guys. I think maybe I don't know. They're better than Chaos Knights. Are they as good as Blood Crushers? They've got better armor. Yeah, I think I'll put them ahead of Blood Crushers, but they're not as good as Boar Boys. Right, who the heck are these? Oh, Dark Knights. Ooh. These are really difficult to place because... Where's Vampire's gone? Because Black Knights, sorry, not Dark Knights, Black Knights. So they've got poor weapon skill at 3. They've got poor initiative. They've not got a lot of attacks. You can give them lances and barding, which gets them up to a 3-up save, which is okay. They are resurrectable, though. So if you give them lances and barding, that takes them up to 28 points, which is pretty good. They do have cleaving blow, which means 6s to wound, auto, you get no save or regen. I don't think you get regen against cleaving blow. Pardon me. Yeah, you don't get regen against cleaving blow. So that adds an extra dimension that makes them pretty difficult to rate, really. And the fact they're resurrectable, they can't march because they're undead. So that's a bit of a problem in terms of getting them around the tabletop. However, there are plenty of reserve move rules, so they're probably going to be moving twice, if not, you know, not actually marching. And they can have a magic banner, but like I said, there's not really much that helps them out a lot. Yeah, I mean, you could give them a standard of Hellish Vigor if you've only got 1 unit. Can you? I think. Where have we got to? Magic stand, yeah, up to 50 points. So you could give them reserve move inbuilt. You'd want a big unit if you were going to do that, and you want something around that's going to keep them like resurrecting. But still, you know, Black Knights are pretty good. So are they better than Blood Crushers? Yes. Are they better than Cold Ones? Probably. Are they better than Boyz? No. So that's the ordering so far. Yeah, Blood Knights are definitely better. Demigryph Knights. Now, I really like these. Jury's out on them. Some people really don't. And that's fine. Everybody has opinions. Now, I really like them as like a single standard unit for like a Grandmaster who's also on a Demigryph. So it's like a bodyguard unit for your Grandmaster on a Demigryph. Give him some cool weapons. You know, that's the use case for them, really. They've got okay leadership. They've got an okay number of attacks. The main thing is they've got multiple wounds. They've got heavy armor. You can give them full plate. So you've got heavy armor, full plate, you know, which makes them 63 points. So they're not cheap, but they do have a lot of wounds and a 2-up save. They do also have counter charge, first charge, and swift stride. So they've got all the cool cavalry abilities. They don't have drilled, which is a slight downside, and they can take a magic banner. But as we will see in a second, when I stop faffing around and I actually get to the magic standard bit, there's not a lot, really. The Gleaming Pennant might be useful to reroll a single failed leadership check you know, if they want to charge into something terrifying, you don't want them to. But then actually, I think if you give your yeah, it makes immune psychology if you put one of these guys in there. So putting a chapter master on a Demigryph or your grandmaster on a Demigryph and just slotting him into that unit, you know, you don't really need that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sold on them. They're pretty good. I mean, 2 up, 3 wounds each, 2 up save. They've got no ward save though. They've got no. That's another thing about Chosen. Sorry, they've got a 6 up ward, which is, you know, if you got like a 1s re-rolling, 2s re-rolling 1s, and then a 6 up ward, you know, it does make them pretty tough. Are they better than boar boys? Not really, because it's 3 boar boys for each Demigryph knight. And boar boys, especially in nomadic horde boar boys, get impact hits as well, which is just fantastic. So, yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to rank. Maybe they are better than boar boys, because boar boys are really difficult to place. Maybe boar boys are B tier. No, they're not. Dragon ogres, right? These are definitely top of A tier. They're better than Demigryph knights. They're not quite S tier for a few reasons that we will have a look at now. They're in Beasts of Chaos, however, Warriors of Chaos can take them. The cool thing about them, right, is the unit size, which is 1 to 9. So you can take, you know, within a standard tournament list, you can take 3 champions. So you can take 3 Shah attacks, just single lone models. They don't have Swift Stride, which is a major downside. They don't have any of the other cool stuff that Demigryph knights have. So by comparison, where's good guys? So if we're looking at Demigryph knights, I think Demigryph knights and Dragon ogres are a really good comparison actually, because they're pretty similar in terms of what they do as a unit. However, Dragon ogres I think are best off taken as like single, although you see quite a lot of people taking them in units. Where the bloody hell Demigryph knights? So Demigryph knights on the charge, they're probably going to, you know, if they were up against each other, Demigryph knights would definitely get the charge off. And, you know, but the Dragon ogres have 4 wounds each. They're 56 points. They're a bit cheaper. You probably want to give them great weapons because their initiative's terrible. But they do have light armor. You can give them heavy armor for another, so it makes them 59 points. With great weapons, 63. So they're then, you know, they're the same as Demigryph knights. But then again, they've got a lot of attacks, and they're going to be slapping back with great weapons, which is great. They've also got a 3-up save because you've got heavy armor plus armored hide 2. So you get yourself up to a 3-up save there, which is pretty useful. And they do have a couple of stomps. So, you know, they're really good for like taking a beating and then slapping back pretty hard. So Dragon ogres are very good. I really like Dragon ogres. I think they are just better than Demigryph knights. In fact, Demigryph knights are going to put them below boar boys. I still think boar boys are better. Oh god, Dragon princes. Do I put them top of B or bottom of A? I'm going to put them top of B for now. They are definitely better than Black Knights. They're probably not as good as Demigryph Knights. So, and we'll see why. Now, they have this rule Impetuous, which everybody whinges about. But, you know, Impetuous isn't that difficult to deal with. Because all you need is like another unit that just, so if you've got your unit of knights here, you just need something to put its toe there to stop the unit from being able to move, so it can't charge, right? Until you want it to. So you do need another unit to kind of get in the way and kind of just keep tripping them up and stopping them from charging. But other than that, they're absolutely fantastic. They've got multiple attacks. They do have lances, strength 5, AP 2, armor bane 1 on the charge, which is great. They've got weapon skill 5. They've got a really super high initiative. They do have elven reflexes. So on the charge, that's going to be 9. So they're the same sort of initiative as the cold ones. They've got an extra pip of movement, which may not seem like a lot, but 1 extra inch really can make all the difference. And they've got counter charge. They've got drilled, which, you know, again, you can make that triple move, you know, 24-inch triple move. And then impetuous doesn't really matter, because if you've positioned yourself up for a charge and then you roll I have to charge with impetuous, it's like, well, I wanted to this turn anyway. You know, and they've got loads of other cool rules. They've got need to remember which ones they've all got. So they've got dragon armor, so they've got 6+ ward against any wounds. So that's just that they got an inbuilt 6 at ward, which is great. They've got that. They can re-roll 1s for dangerous terrain tests, which means that going through dangerous terrain isn't a problem. They've got Ithalmar weapons, so in the second round of combat, they can re-roll hits to 1. They've got re-roll panic tests as well. So they've got loads of cool special rules, and they're just generally very, 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 very good. However, impetuous does bring them down a little bit. So where am I going to put them? I think bottom of A, actually. Maybe they're even better than Demigryph Knights. Because if those two came up against each other on the table, right, the Dragon Princes would almost certainly get the charge off. And they'd probably kill... How much... I suppose it depends how many points they are. So they're 37 points. They're 37 points. Which actually, for all of that, is really cheap, apart from impetuous, which is a bit of a limiting factor. They can take a magic banner as well, so they can be even better. But you're kind of getting nearly 2 for every Demigryph. It's just over 2 for a Demigryph, so I think they're better than Demigryph. I don't think they're better than boar boys, though, because, again, numbers, you can get 2 boar boys for every 1 dragon prince, pretty much. So, you know, I think that might matter. Now, Inner Circle Empire Knights, I'm totally split on these. I really don't know whether they're any good or not. So anybody who does play Empire, I'd be really interested in your opinions. Comment down below. So, Inner Circle Knights, what they don't have, and this is the thing that I was a bit surprised at. So if we compare Empire Knights to Inner Circle, so they're an extra 8 points. What do you get for those extra 8 points? You get an extra pip of leadership, you get an extra pip of initiative, you get an extra pip of strength. You don't get weapon skill 5, you don't get, you know, multiple attacks. You just get a bit more initiative, a bit more strength for 8 points. Would you pay 8 points for +1 initiative and strength on those knights? Possibly. You can give them lances. They've got full plate inbuilt. I think these guys have got... Oh, they've got heavy armor, but they can take full plate. Empire Knights can't take full plate. That's interesting. Okay, so they are better because they've got that 2 up is miles better than 3 up, by the way, statistically. Yeah, they can replace shields with great weapons, but you'd be mad to do that because it's the 2 up save that you really, really want. You can give them stubborn, which is pretty useful. They've got counter charge, drilled, first charge, reroll hit rolls of 1 in combat, swift stride, and veteran. Veteran's actually really good for them because it allows them to reroll all leadership checks. So everything that requires a leadership check apart from break tests. So I think for the points, actually, they're pretty good. Bearing in mind they are quite cheap because they're going to be 30 points each, aren't they? So 2 of them per Demigryph. I still prefer a Demigryph over 2 of these guys, to be honest. But I don't know, because Demigryph have got all the cool rules as well. So I think they're Black Knights. Where do they rank compared to Black Knights? I think they're better than Black Knights, but that's it. So I think they're top of B tier. Empire Knights, on the other hand, are just awful. Just in general awful. Do these have drilled built in, actually? Yeah, they do have drilled built in, so that's great. So actually, that's interesting. So it's okay. So the first order, it's actually only an extra 7 points because they've already got drilled. So they goes to 22. Yeah, so these are basically 22, 23. Do you want to give them stubborn? I mean, it depends what your use case is. If you're taking big units of them, like Knights of the White Wolf, for instance, if you're taking big units with great weapons, so you got, 4-up saves, but you want to get them around the field quite quickly, and you don't mind if they get charged because they can slap back. But again, not very hard because they're only strength 3. They're just not very good. There's just nothing about them to write home about, to be honest. They haven't got full plate, so they're pretty challenged when it comes to make. I am reading that right. You can't take full plate, no. So I don't know. I don't think they're very good. I don't think they're worth the points. They are cheap knights, but I'd much rather. What's the limitation on first knight? 0 to 1. Pardon me. Right, so you can take 0 to 1 unit of inner circle knights, but so they are more limited. Empire knights are part of your core choices, but there's so much in Empire. You want like MSU stuff getting in the way in your core choices. Empire knights don't really do that. So I think as a comparison, Empire knights, they've got to be D tier really. They're just not very good at all. Like, they're a bit like Chaos Knights in that there's an elite version which is so much better. It's interesting, yeah. Maybe these are bottom of B. I don't know. Then we've got some demons again. Quite a lot of demons now. Let's have a look for demons. Oops, I clicked the wrong one. Now, demons is here. So let's do flesh hounds first because they're closer. Now, these are technically heavy cavalry. They've got they haven't got swift stride though, so they're awful. They can't really guarantee getting charges off. They do have vanguard and they do have ambushers, which is pretty good. They do have armor bane 1, which is okay. They've got good magic resistance. They've got counter charge though, which is quite exciting. So they're pretty good against other cavalry because they can shut down a cavalry charge to an extent. So actually, they've got a really interesting use case in that if your opponent's got some cavalry that's got like a 7-inch move, you can park these 7 and a bit inches away from theirs. Their cavalry, when they declare a charge, you're going to be going an extra D3 because of counter charge. So probably 2. Yeah, so you limit their charge to 5, which means they still get all the bonuses, don't they? So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. No. I don't. And they've got impetuous, which is an awful rule, and 32 points, 6-up save. They're terrible, aren't they? They're absolutely awful. D tier. Right. Fiends. Back to demons. It's Khorne, Nurgle, Slaanesh. Fiends of Slaanesh. So these are monstrous cavalry. They do have swift stride and movement 8, so they're pretty quick. They've got good weapon skill, not great, but good weapon skill, good strength, good toughness, multiple wounds. They've got no save, though, other than the demonic 5-up ward save, which, again, is pretty good, but that's all they've got. They've got soporific musk, which cancels out first strike and makes the opponent strike last. So they've got that interesting mechanic. And they've also got venomous tail, which is a single attack which is got strike first and poisoned attack, which is a bit weird because that strike first only really works against something else that's got strike first. So like elf lords, and what else has got strike first? Some other things like, is it witch elves or something like that? Anyway, there's a few things that have strike first, but so they get to do one attack like that, which is poisoned, and then some other attacks that aren't. They've got piercing claws, however. Piercing claws are pretty good. So you get an extra attack, strength, AP1, armor bane 2, which is, so they get 3 attacks with these. Do they though? It's interesting because what does piercing claws? Does that mean they get one extra attack per attack or one extra attack overall. I think it's just overall. I think I'm trying to make them better than they are. I don't know, because it's just no armor save. Toughness 4, 3 wounds, and for 66 points, like everything in the Slaanesh roster, they're incredibly fragile, but they have the potential to kick out a lot of damage. So they've got 3 attacks with piercing claws that are AP 1 to 3. I mean, they're okay to bad. Okay to bad. So where do they rank? Are they as bad as these guys? No. Are they as bad as Chaos Warriors? Chaos Knights? They're possibly worse than Chaos Knights. They're possibly are... blood. I think Blood Crushers might need to come down. I don't know. Anyway, so this one... we'll save the Bretonnians till... Actually, let's finish off the demons. What's the other demonic cavalry? Where are they? Oh, here we go. Plague drones. Plague drones are really interesting in the old world. Games Workshop have consistently got the rules for plague drones wrong. They either make them way too powerful or way too terrible. So these guys are toughness 5, which is great. That's excellent news. Exactly what they should be. They're 63 points. They're quite expensive. You can give them a proboscis, which gives them initiative 3. Whoop-de-doo. You can give them a venom sting, which has just the rotfly gets 1 attack with AP 1 and armor bane 1, whereas it's got armor bane 2 anyway, so it's not that much of an upgrade, but I guess you might as well for an extra 2 points. Some guaranteed armor bane. AP, sorry. They've got regen 6, so they've got a demon. So the other thing I think to bear in mind with demons is the sort of the demonic rules. So that's something I didn't mention when it comes to like blood crushers. But blood crushers, when they charge, they get +1 strength, which makes them really super good. Hellblade is cleaving blow, yeah, just to confirm. Now the Nurgle thing is, if you roll a 6 to hit against them, you have to re-roll it. So you have to re-roll 6s to hit against Nurgle in combat, which, is pretty good against them. They're weapon skill 3, so they're fairly easy to hit, but they are toughness 5, which means it's really difficult to wound them for pretty much everything, really. It makes them quite tough. They've then got 6 up regen, and they've got a 5 up ward, and they've got leadership 7. So demons don't crumble like undead do. So it's not automatically you lose a number of wounds by how much you lost the combat by. You take a break test as normal, and then it's however much you fail the break test by. So your leadership does can play a role. However, it's worthwhile mentioning, obviously, that can go the other way. So if you lost combat by 3, for instance, and then you roll a leadership of 10, you're then losing 5 wounds. Whereas, if you were undead, you just lose another 3. So, or another 2, or whatever it was. So, yeah, they do have poisoned attacks, which is pretty good, but they don't have that many attacks. Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I don't think they're very good. I think they're okay. They do have Swift Stride, which on Fly 9 makes them really fast. Because they've got an 18-inch threat range now. And they do have Plague Swords and Death's Head. So let's see what they do before I make up my mind. Death's Head's shooting, march and shoot, multiple wound D3. They're pretty good. And Plague Sword, just Armor Bane 1. Regen not permitted. But they're poisoned. So you're really unlikely to get that Armor Bane, because you're not going to, if you roll a 6. I guess, yeah, they're okay to bad. So, are they... They're not as good as Blood Crushers. I think they're better than Knights because of the high toughness, but it's difficult. It's really difficult to work out where to put them, to be honest. Right, let's do the Bretonnians, because Bretonnians have 4, obviously. Bretonnia are full of knights, full of cavalry. So the first off, knights errant, automatically absolutely awful. Obviously, that's kind of their job. Their job is to be awful. They're cheap. They charge in. They maybe do some damage. They probably die, whatever. But they do have swift stride, so they are going to get into combat. They got movement 8, and also because they got Bretonnian, because they got finest war horses. Sorry, they're re-rolling 1s on charge rolls, which means that their charges are pretty reliable. You take little units of 5 of them to pepper around the table and just do a bit of damage. They're okay to bad, really, errant knights. So errant knights are the ones without helmets. These guys, I'm going to put them in C tier. I'm going to put them at the top of C tier. Knights of the Realm next. They are just cheap knights. Now, Bretonnia, the way that GW have written the Bretonnia book is actually quite clever, in that you've got lots and lots of not very good but cheap knights. So, Knights of the Realm, again, not very good. They're only strength 3. They've only got a 3-up save, But for the points, they're quite cheap. I think you've got to compare them, though, with Empire Knights to an extent. So, weapon skill 4, 4 3s, blah, 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 and 21 points. 4 3s, blah, 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 and 24 points. So there are an extra 3 points for all the cool Bretonnian stuff, which is actually pretty good, because you've got a ward save, you've got counter charge built in, you've got the reroll ones to charge. That's the same. Lance is now rubbish, don't use it. Swift Stride and the Knight's Vow is pretty useful, but not massively. There's a lot of cool stuff that they've got built into them that makes them better than Empire Knights, and not much better than Empire Knights, though. So where are they? They're here. Where did I put Empire Knights? Terrible. I'm going to put them... Knights of the Realm, I'm going to put them bottom of B tier. They're pretty, as they should be, really. They're pretty much, bang average cavalry, but they are cheap. So I think they're not... Ooh, I do think they're better than Cold One Knights, but I don't think they're as good as... Okay. Oops. Right, and then Questing Knights. Questing Knights I really like. They've got a good amount of strength, they've got good initiative, they've got first charge. They don't have counter charge, though, which is a bit of a problem. They do have the blessing, however, they've got the finest war horses, all the good stuff. The questing vow, why won't it let me scroll up and down? Bloody thing. Chivalrous vows. Questing Vow is stubborn and can reroll Fear, Panic and Terror. So that's pretty good. So they've got Stubborn inbuilt. Yeah, Stubborn's really good, actually. Because it allows you to just definitely not flee in the first combat that you take. So if you've cocked up and you've not got the charge off for whatever reason, and you're in a bit of a bind, then, they're pretty good. I don't know. I like them because they've got great weapons and they're cool and the rules are cool and yeah. I don't know. They're better than Knights of the Realm because look, they're only 2 points more. I guess the downside is they've got the same save. They've got a 3-up save, so they got 2 points more. What for? The Vow really, but then they've lost lances and they've lost counter charge. I don't think they're as good as Knights of the Realm actually. Because they've lost counter charge, which is really super important. Yeah. I guess they are strength 4, so they are useful, and weapon skill 5, so they are useful for charging into monsters, which is pretty much their job. But if your opponent hasn't got any monsters for them to charge, then they're not that useful. I think they're about on par really with where have I put them? With Knights of the Realm. I'm going to put them slightly behind Knights of the Realm. They're better than Cold One Knights, definitely. Not definitely, marginally better. Right, and then nearly finished with these guys. You got Grail Knights. Grail Knights are some of the best cavalry in the game. They've got weapon skill 6, which is I think the highest we've seen so far. Strength 4, toughness 4. They've got living saints, so they can all issue and accept challenges. The chivalrous vows mean they're immune to psychology. They have magical attacks. They are stubborn. They always benefit from the blessing and don't have to pray from the start. However, they can't refuse a challenge, which is exactly the same as the vampire count. Vampire blood knights, that's what they're called. It's the same as a blood knight sort of thing. They've got finest war horses, movement 8, which makes them better than blood knights. However, you can't res them, you can't bring them back. They've got the blessing of the lady, which is a 6 up ward normally, but a 5 up against. Now, blood knights have a regen save of 6 up, which is kind of similar, but not really. So yeah, I guess it kind of comes down to points, and 38 points for all of that is pretty cheap. So are they top of A tier or are they bottom of S? It's really difficult. I think these up against Chosen Knights, I think these would probably win. But these with a Duke against Chosen Knights with a Lord, and the Chosen Knights would win. So, and I guess they are susceptible to being shot at because they've only got a 3-up save, which isn't great. So, Grail Knights, I think they're top of A. I'm not sure they're in S. They could be in S, but I'm not sure. Let's have a think about that at the end. Right, and then finally, Pegasus Knights. I don't need to really do much for that. They're the best cavalry in the game as far as I'm concerned. They slap really, really hard. Here they are. So first off, they've got fly 10, which is faster than most fly moves anyway. They've got they don't have finest cavalry, so you don't get to reroll ones on your charge rolls and your swift stride and stuff, but they do have swift stride, so they've probably got a threat range of 18, maybe 19 inches. They've got furious charge, which means they get extra attacks on the charge, which means, you know, they're strength 6 on the charge. They don't have the weapon skill 6 like Grail Knights, but whatever. They've got 2 wounds each, which means they've got a bit of durability built in. So they are 55 points, which isn't that expensive for what they do. And because they're skirmish, so they've got this 2 inches coherency skirmish formation. So that means they've got 360 vision, so they can charge in any direction. They do have counter charge, so if they get charged if they get charged by cavalry, then they get to counter charge regardless. So unless counter charge only applies to certain things, I'm just going to have a quick look for counter charge, because I could be misremembering how that works. It's charging its front arc. It's got a 360 arc, so all arcs are front. Yeah. Does it say... No, so they can countercharge regardless. So they're just amazing. They do so much damage. They do hit quite hard. Yeah, I don't know. They are just some of the best units in the game. And yeah. Cool. So that's all the Bretonnian stuff. Let's finish off vampires with hex wraiths. Hex wraiths. Hex wraiths. Movement 8. So these are weird. They've got spectral reapers. They've got their own. They've got hand weapons. Apologies again, I've got a frog in my throat for some reason. It's probably all these painkillers. Anyway, so we've got some great weapons, which means they're strength 5. They are ethereal, which means you've got to have magical attacks to hit them. If you do have magical attacks, you will just tear them to pieces. because they're only toughness 3 and they've got a regen of 6 up, and that's literally their only save. So if you've got magical attacks, they die. Other than that, they're basically invulnerable to your attacks. They've got flaming attacks, fly 8, which is pretty good. They've got swift stride. They do cause terror, which is really useful, especially when like somebody's got screens. Just declaring a charge with your hex wraiths against their screen, you know, just to get it to panic off the way, out of the way, is pretty good. And when they fly over a unit, then they take sorry, my knee's still hurting. They can take a hit. Once this unit's movement is complete, the enemy unit suffers a single strength 4 hit, no armor save, which is pretty rubbish. I'm sure that used to be 1 per strength 4 hit per, but it's, yeah, I don't know. No, they're pretty rubbish, aren't they? Apart from the fact that they're ethereal and terror, there's nothing really to commend them, is there? So I'm going to put them D tier. Yeah. Bottom of C tier, sorry, I think. Yeah. Right, let's do silver helms. Silver helms. In fact, let's finish off all the good guy stuff. So, I forgot about ogre cavalry. We'll have to correct that in a sec. So the high elves. Now, silver helms, some people like, some people don't. I think they're great. Firstly, they're your core choice, so they're they're your core tax, as it were. And secondly, I think the fact that they've got Ithilmar barding means they're okay going through like woods and stuff, which is really, really useful. They have only got strength 3, toughness 3. They've only got a 3 up save, but again, you can put them in woods, so they're -2 to hit from shooting, so they're a bit more. Which you can do with Dragon Princes as well, obviously, because they've also got Ithilmar barding. So you can take the risk, because you get to reroll those dangerous terrain checks of 1. So it's pretty, which is very, very useful. So you can use the terrain a bit more. They've got everything else. They've got the reroll panic tests against certain things. Not all panic tests, but certain panic tests. They've got first charge, blah, 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 blah. They can take shields, which makes them 24 points. And again, they're sort of Knight of the Realm territory. They've got movement 8, so they're the same sort of speed as a Knight of the Realm. They don't have the ward save, but they do have the ability to basically faff around through cover. So it's kind of horses for courses. They're probably as good as Knights of the Realm. They're better than Questing Knights, I think. Yeah, so I think they're pretty much slap bang in the middle. Which is why I'm a bit surprised more people don't take them, because they're okay. They're not a star, but they are pretty good. Right, who's next? Let's do these. Let's do the Wood Elves. Yeah, so we've got some Warhawk Riders. We've got Wild Riders. Both of these are really, really difficult. Now, Warhawk Riders arguably should be in light cavalry. However, they're technically. Wood Elves come before High Elves, as they should. Cavalry. So Glade Riders are definitely, Sisters of the Thorn, they're definitely light cavalry. We'll do them in another video. Right, Wild Riders, we'll do them first. I've put them in as heavy cavalry. I know they're not, but their job is to kill stuff. They've got light armor and shields, so they have only got a 5 up save, which is not great. They do have talismanic tattoos, which is a 6 up ward, I believe. 6 up ward, yep. For the talismanic tattoos. So they've got a 5 up save, 6 up ward. Even better than all the high elf stuff, they have move through cover. So they can just sit in some woods. Move through cover is so much better though, because the downside of being in cover is that when you roll a charge, you roll 2 dice and you pick the lowest. Because these have got move through cover, they pick the highest. So they can sit in some woods or behind a bit of scenery or whatever, get -2 to hit in shooting. So the -2 to hit in shooting, does that offset the low armor save? Dunno. It should, but doesn't necessarily. Now they do have Frenzy, which is a massive, massive downside. they counter that by having furious charge as well. So on the charge, your Wild Rider has 3 attacks and your Wild Hunter has 4 attacks. So if there's 5 of them, you've got 16 attacks. Hitting you, right? Probably at initiative like 9. They've got a movement of 9 anyway, so they've got an 18-inch threat range, which is bigger than any other cavalry. And they can do that out of cover, you know, with impunity. So, pardon me. So they're just going to hit you with loads and loads of attacks. Hunting Spear, combined with their quite high strength, means they're hitting you at Strength 5, AP 2, Armor Bane 1. In subsequent rounds, they've got to use hand weapons. Their hand weapons are absolutely awful. So it makes it really difficult to place them anywhere, even against light cavalry or heavy cavalry. They're pretty much, they do their own thing. They're very, very, very unique, and the models are fantastic. I love the models. So I really don't know where to put them. I guess they're bottom of A, because they're so scary in terms of, you know, if they're going to hit you, they're going to do a lot of damage. Regardless of what they're hitting, they're going to do a lot of damage. Are they better than Inner Circle? Yes. Are they better than Griffin Knights? It's all situational. I think that's the thing. In if they're caught out in a terrible situation, they are worse than Flesh Hounds. If they get in the right situation to maximise everything that they can do, they're arguably as good as Chosen. So Wood Elves, I don't know, it depends how you play them. But I do think just in general, they kind of sit at the bottom of A tier. Oh, I've done that again. And then also for Wood Elves, you've got some Warhawk Riders. Now again, Warhawk Riders are quite difficult to place because they are technically monstrous cavalry, but they've got 2 wounds, bugger all armour. They don't have move through cover, so you can't hide them in some woods. They have fly 10s. They're pretty quick. They've got swift stride. What they are war machine hunters. So they can go around. They've got fire and flee and feigned flight. So somebody charges them, they can shoot, run away, and automatically rally, which is great. They've got evasive, which means when you're shooting at them, they get to make a fallback in good order before your shots are made. I don't know what's going on with my hair. It just seems to be a mess today. They're skirmishers, but they're not unit strength 1. Like, they've got cavalry spears. They've got the special wood elf longbows. So cavalry spears are +1 strength, AP 1. So they are war machine hunters. That is their job. And are they as good at hunting war machines as, say, Great Eagles? I think so. I prefer Warhawk Riders to Great Eagles personally. But maybe that's because I like the models better. I don't know. Maybe Great Eagles are better at that particular job. Again, I don't know. But where to place them on this roster, I think they're pretty rubbish, to be honest. They are arguably better than Hex Wraiths, but not as good as these guys. Right. Let's do the Lizardmen, because there's 3 Lizardmen. Cavalry units. We have Cold One Riders. They are stupid. They cannot use Cold-Blooded. So Cold-Blooded is basically when they take panic or fear tests, I think. I can't remember what Cold-Blooded is. So it's basically you roll 3d6 for your leadership and discard the highest when taking fear, panic, or terror. Fear, panic, or terror. Where are they? Cold One Riders, here we are. So, you know, they've got multiple attacks, which is excellent already. 34 points for 2 attacks. That's the cheapest you're going to get 2 attacks on some cavalry. They take cavalry spears, which they're strength 4 anyway, because they're Saurus. You got cold ones. You can give them drilled, which means you can make that 21-inch charge and then charge out of it, which is pretty good. They've got heavy armor, shields, and armored hide. So they've got a 3-up save, which is okay. Combined with a 4-up save, 4-up toughness. Sorry, a toughness of 4. That's pretty good. They've got obsidian blades, which is +1 AP on hand weapons only. I think that's AP on hand weapons only. Obsidian blades. Yeah, single hand weapons AP 1. So, you know, they're pretty good as like a thump and grind sort of cavalry. They're not the fastest in the world. Where I've lost them. They're not the fastest in the world. They can have a magic standard. So, what it relies on them having a decent magic banner that does something cool for them. That's good. -1 to hit in the shooting phase, and you can't stand and shoot. So maybe if you were taking a big block of like 10 of them, sticking that sun standard on, I mean, you could give them frenzy for an extra attack. That's about it. So, I don't know. They're difficult to place. They are very, very good. I think they're one of the better units in the Lizardmen roster, to be honest, because of all the attacks. Giving them frenzy would be pretty cool. Like, loads and loads of attacks coming in. The thing is, though, they only take cavalry spears. So they've only got AP 1s. They're not great AP-wise. They are AP 1 in subsequent... In fact, you wouldn't use the obsidian blades in subsequent rounds because you still can use cavalry spears. You just don't get the strength modifier, I think is how that works. I'll just have a quick look. Cavalry spear. Model. Strength. Oh, and AP. Okay, so in subsequent rounds you can either use them to make supporting attacks... Oh, no, because you can't actually switch, can you? So you can't switch in between rounds of combat. So basically, that makes them not so good. Because they'd have to choose obsidian blades if it's going to be a thump and grind thing to keep the AP. Or do they want some extra? That is so rubbish. I'd be tempted not to take cavalry spears. That would mean I'm not even tempted. So anyway... I don't know. They're confusing. That's the long and the short of it. These guys are confusing. So, are they good? Yes. Are they better than Inner Circle Knights? Probably not. Are they better than... No. Are they better than Dark... So, are Saurus on Cold Ones better than Dark Elf on Cold Ones? Yes. That one's easy. Or, no, because they've got a 2-up save, haven't they? So, I don't know. Are they better than Blood Crushers? Yes, they're definitely better than Blood Crushers. Actually, I'm going to move Blood Crushers down to the top of C tier, actually, now. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I think that looks good. So then we've got some Pterodon and some Udabers. Pterodon Riders. Here we go. Pterodon Riders. They've got Fire Leech Bolash, which have march and shoot and quick shot, so you can essentially fly 20 inches. So these have got a 26-inch threat range, which is pretty good. Strength 4 is not really worth writing home about. 1 attack each for 30 points. Awful. In combat, they've got javelins, hand weapons, light armor. Like, I mean, their use case really, armored hide ones, so they got like, are they allowed shields? No. So they got a 5-up save and that's it. Toughness 3, 2 wounds. So I think a unit of Bretonnian archers, which are categorically the worst missile unit in the game, but I think a unit of Bretonnian archers, worst like proper, like, I'm not counting Noblars as a missile unit, right? But anyway, I think a unit of Bretonnian archers could quite easily just destroy a unit of these in one turn. These are awful. Do they have... They have drop rocks. Where's the rule for drop rocks? It'll be in special rules, presumably. So, this is the only thing that's going to... D3 unit must move. Once the enemy unit suffers for each model. So if you've got 3 of them, 3d3 strength 4 hits. And that's it. And then they die. But that's if they don't get shot before they get there. They do have a 20-inch move. You can hide them behind terrain. I don't know. There's a lot of spells that's better than that. Like, I just think they're awful. So Pterodon riders, I'll put them at the bottom of D tier. I'll be nice, but they are pretty terrible. They're not scary. Like if Drop Rocks was like, I don't know, AP2 for instance, then they would be scary then. But like, what do they do? They fly over your opponent's skirmish screen, which is cheaper than them, drop some rocks, panic them through them. No, because they'd have to panic towards you. Like, yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't think they're any good at all. Right, and then Lizzies. We've got Ripperdactyl riders. Now, Ripperdactyl riders have been the best unit in the game and the worst unit in the game, retrospectively, all the way through old Warhammer and AOS. Are they any good? The short answer is no, really. So you have to get this weird toad icon. So this is because it's just more admin, right? But anyway, you get a little toad little model. You put it on a base and you put it next to an enemy unit. And when the Ripperdactyls are in combat with that unit, the Ripperdactyls get an extra attack and may reroll hit rolls of 1. The Ripperdactyl has cleaving blow, which is 3 attacks, hitting on 3s, 6s to wound, no armor or regen save, which is pretty good. Ripperdactyls do have Furious Charge, so if you're against the enraged unit, you've got 4 attacks. You could arguably put Frenzy on them with a spell from Dark Magic, I think. That is, if a Slann cannot take Dark Magic, so you can't Frenzy them. I guess they're okay. I mean, they're 40 points each. Again, the problem is they've got light armor, shields, armored hides. They've got a 4-up save, toughness 3, 40 points each for 2 wounds. Like, it's like you compare that against. Why does scroll up on my mouse not work on that bloody screen? Very irritating. But like you compare that to just like a Pegasus knight, right? And it's light and day in terms of how good one is compared to the other. The cleaving blow is like really swingy. Like they could do a lot of damage, and they've got impetuous, so you can bait them out. I really don't know where to put them. No, I'm sneezing. I'm doing all the things. Right, so they are definitely better than Warhawk riders. I get this. Are they better than Cold One riders? They're just not survivable enough. I'm going to put them at the bottom of B. Right. Now, let's have a look at the rest of the evils things. So, orcs and goblins are first on the thing. So let's... Now, these I've included. They are light cavalry. But I've included them because, again, a bit like Wild Riders, they function as heavy cavalry, although they're technically light cavalry. So, they've got light armor, and that's it. So they've got no save, pretty much. Toughness 3, which makes them pretty terrible. However, they are very, very cheap, and they have random movement, which actually is really good. They can take cavalry spears and light armor, which, you know, makes them strength 4 AP1 when they charge. The main thing is getting this bounder squig into combat. They does impact hits. They're open order. They got random movement. They can skirmish as well. They are warband. They are a loner, so they can't be accompanied by heroes. But again, 12 points each, like 14 points each, maybe. You know, you can take a lot of them. You can take 4 of them, 5 of them for every Gryph knight. You know, there's 4 of these more or less for every Pegasus knight. So what they lack for in quality, they make up for in numbers, and they're on squigs, and squigs are great. They are. It doesn't even need thinking about. And the random movement means you can, like, just accidentally just lob them into something. So they're very, 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 very good. They can take magic items up to 25 points. If you were going to do that. The Collar of Zorga would be quite fun. And then just chuck them into some monstrous cavalry, which are then -1 to hit for some reason, or a dragon, -1 to hit against them. That's quite cool. You can take fungus wine, which makes them immune to psychology, which isn't great. You could give the rider another impact hit with the headbutting at, which is pretty cool. And there's loads of other stuff in the sub-tribes as well that you could use. I mean, where do you put them? They're not great. They're not as good as that or that. They're probably better than that. So they probably sit there. There's 2 of them for every one of these. I think that's about right, actually. Errant Knights. Yeah, I think that's about right. Yeah, so actually 2 Errant Knights would be up against 3 of those on average, wouldn't they, points-wise? So I think that's okay. I think that's a good rating. And then Evils, finishing off, the Tomb Kings do actually have some heavy cavalry. Well, they have some monstrous cavalry. So we'll start with the Sepulchral Stalkers. In Warhammer Total War, these are great for, like, sniping giants and things. Because they do just tons of damage in shooting. However, in Warhammer the Old World, they do not. No armor save is permitted. Ward and regen they get as normal. So basically, you're hitting on 3s, probably 4s. Sorry, you're hitting on 4s, maybe 5s or 6s, because of range and the fact that they moved. It would be much better if they had this had quick shot, to be honest. But they have to sit there and wind up. They're then hoping for 6s to wound. So you like 5s and then 6s, and then you do multiple in D3. So if you've got a big unit of 6 of them, you're going to not do any damage. If you've got a big... So how many of them do you need to do any damage? Loads. They do have a writhing tail, which is D3 additional attacks to that. So they have halberds. So they can have ambushers. I don't know. They're just too expensive. They're absolutely rubbish, to be honest. I'm just going to leave it here. They're terrible. They're possibly better than flesh hounds, but not by much. They've got this weird shooting attack that, you know, because their ballistic skill is only 3, it's almost useless. And then we've got Necropolis Knights. Now, the models for these are so cool, so I want them to be really good. And they're not bad. They're pretty, I think, mid-tier for monstrous cav. So they've got loads of attacks, which is great news. They've got cavalry spears again, which is pretty good news. Movement 7 and swift stride, which means they're pretty quick. They're probably going to get a charge off. The Necroserpents have lots of attacks that are poisoned, which is great. They've got Indomitable. They've got a Kopesh, which they'll never use because cavalry... Or maybe they could use the Kopesh, actually. Kopesh is just AP1. So cavalry spears if you charge a +1 strength and AP1, but in subsequent rounds you just normal strength, no AP. And you can't swap cavalry spears for Kopesh because it's not a lance. So, yeah, so they've got light armor shields and armored hide, which means they've got a 4-up save, which is pretty much as good as you're going to get for Cavalry. Regen 6 makes them slightly more survivable. The knights and the captain have got cleaving blow, so all those attacks, 6 is to wound, you know. It's probably why you're probably going to use the Koppesh, isn't it? In fact, no, that's probably why you're going to use... Oh, I don't know, actually. They do impact hits. Indomitable means 1 fewer crumbles when they lose combat, or they lose 1 fewer wound anyway. So, they're pretty good. The captain can take a great weapon, which you might want to do as an upgrade. That's a pretty cool upgrade. Bit more AP, bit more strength. So yeah, they're pretty good. My experience with games where I've seen them being played, they die very quickly, and I think quite often they just get misused. So I think actually they're probably right. Let's go through. So they're better than that, better than them, better than them. Better than... Are they better than Knights of the Inner Circle? I guess for the points, Knights of the Inner Circle, you're going to get 2 Knights of the Inner Circle for one of these. Should beat that. They're probably on par with Demigryphs. They probably fill a similar battlefield role as Demigryph riders. Their save is 1 worse, but they do have like cleaving blow, and the mounts have poison attacks and stuff. So I think they're just slightly better. They just edge it over the Demigryphs. Cool. Now, there's one thing I forgot to... I forgot to do these boys. So if you'll just bear with me a sec. Oops. Mournfang Cavalry. Now, what can you say about Mournfang Cavalry other than they go here? They are... Do they go here, actually? I think they go here, actually. I think they're better than Chosen Knights. Now, that's a big claim, and I shall show you. They are like one of the best units in the game. They're just absolutely fantastic. I've taken them to a tournament. I've played with them. They are brilliant. Like, they slap so hard. They need to get a charge off, but actually with ogres, there's enough, you know, high toughness stuff to get in the way to ensure you're going to do that. Now, what they've got is they've got 4 wounds each at toughness 4. They've got light armor, which I think you can take heavy armor, can't you? Yeah, so you can take heavy armor, which makes them 67 points. You probably give them great weapons, so they're 71 points. So they're pretty much like Shartak territory. However, so they've basically got all the aggressive and defensive characteristics of Dragon Ogres, right? However, they're better than that because they've got D3 impact hits each. So you get hit by 4 of those. That's 4 D3 impact hits at strength 5, and Mournfang charge. Basically, what that means is impact hits have AP 1. So strength 5, AP 1 impact hits. That just does so much damage. They've got Swift Stride as well, which makes them great. You can make their save better by taking Iron Fists instead of great weapons. However, you don't really need to do that. Brace of Ogre Pistols is a waste of points. There are lots of so good magic standards that help them out. So impact hits have Armor Bane 1 as well. Sorry, I knew it wasn't just AP 1. So where is it? Bull Standard may re-roll any failed rolls to wound when resolving impact hits for just an extra 20 points. Considering they're elite and expensive anyway, like that seems like a no-brainer. Cannibal Totem, giving them a 5-up regen. Fewer pursuit dice, but the swift stride, so they get to roll 2d6 anyway. They get to roll an extra d6 when making a pursuit roll. You know, you could give them Dragonhide Banner or anything out of the... So, like, they're some of the best cavalry in the game. Sadly, they are in the special category, and, you know, they are very expensive, but they are very worth it. That's all I got to say. Right. Is that all the cavalry? Saber tusks are war beasts and iron blasters are heavy chariots. Cool. So that's my... That's my... Oh. That's even better. Oh, I'm an idiot. Yeah. So that's my... heavy cavalry tier list. It's been an hour and 20. That's quite a long video, isn't it? Cool. So, you know, thanks for watching. If you agree or disagree or whatever, you know, please do let me know. Apologies I didn't find presentation mode earlier. That was a massive oversight on my behalf, but I'm not re-recording all this. But I think I'm pretty happy with... Oh, hold on. Where's the bloody... Have I... Where have they gone? The Mournfang Cavalry have disappeared. Let's put that back again. Yeah, that goes there. Yeah, I don't think they're as good as Blood Knights because, you know, they don't get resurrected. They are better than Chosen, though, because of the impact hits. So... That is so bizarre. I don't know what's going on with that. But anyway... yeah, that's my tier list. Mournfang Cav should be in there somewhere. Just apologies for the oversight. And the reason I've done cavalry first, to be honest, is because I think cavalry is like where, you know, where people are winning games at tournaments, right? Because cavalry allows you to like exert your power over a bigger chunk of the battlefield. So, you know, it allows you to chase down fleeing units, and cavalry is just like some of the best unit in the game, especially if it's got swift stride. Dragon ogres don't have swift stride, so actually I'm going to put them down a little bit. Yeah, there. Yeah, I think these three monstrous cavalry units are pretty much on par with each other. They are slightly better. Wild riders are so difficult to decide where they go. But cavalry really do allow you to do a lot on the table, and you know they are quite forgiving in terms of making up for like mistakes that you've made with how you played the game. And that's why I think Pegasus Knights are the best in the game, because of that 360. You know, it doesn't really matter where you put them; you can just slap them down anywhere. You don't have to maneuver, and they've got fly 9 or 10 or something, so you can just put them pretty much wherever you like on the tabletop. So they're just absolutely brilliant. Pegasus Knights are. They are, you know, the best cavalry in the game by some chalk. But there are some really worthy contenders. I'm tempted to put the Grail Knights up to S tier, to be honest, because they pretty much are. But yeah, that's my tier list. So anyway, I hope you've found this enjoyable. If you haven't, tell me why. But if you've stayed until now, perhaps you might want to consider subscribing if this video has done enough to earn your subscription. And if you have liked the video, there is indeed a button via which you can express your opinion. But yeah, chat in the comments down below. I have so far managed to respond to everybody who's commented. So if you've got anything you want to say, any way you disagree with me, quite happy to have a chat. Anyway, catch you around on the next one. Toodaloo.